Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be sharing with you how I personalise balloons, and the reason that I bought my Cricut machine in the first place was because we have a business that we do a lot of personalised balloons in. We usually use glitter, but we'd had a lot of people asking us for vinyled balloons. It had obviously become a bit of a trend. So I thought, why not? We'll get a machine and we'll have a go and see what we can produce. And now they are really popular. And every week that goes by, we tend to be doing a lot more personalised balloons in this method. So that was why I bought the machine to start with. But everything else that I've done with paper and cardstock and stuff like that, at the time when I bought my machine, I didn't really know that I could do that. So they were just like a happy accident, really. And I really love that I can do so much on this machine, and I think if you've got one, try some different materials, try some different projects, take yourself out of your comfort zone. I originally only ever thought I'm going to be cutting out stickers to go onto balloons, but now I use my machine for so much more, and you can see this on the channel actually. If you go into my videos, I've got loads of cardstock examples, vinyl examples, so many different things you can do, especially if you've got the Maker. Obviously with an Explorer you can do the same sorts of things as well, but the Maker is like the big daddy of the Cricut machines, definitely. So all I'm doing here today is a very simple design. Happy birthday, Dad. This is exactly what the customer asked for, in this font, in capitals. No cursive or anything like that with it. It's all pretty simple. So I'm just messing around with my sizes and getting my design ready, and then we'll move on to the next section. So I've measured the space on my balloon that I want to fill, and I'm looking at about 17 by 12-ish centimetres, there or thereabouts. I am doing 2 panels on the balloon. The particular balloon I'm using is an orbs balloon. It's perfectly round. It has 4 panels, so I'm going to fill 2 with Happy Birthday Dad. I've also decided I'm going to give the lady a little sheet of stars. If she wants to add them on, then she can do. She might look at it and think it's a bit plain without them, so I'm going to just give her the option. So now I've got my sizing sorted and I'm happy with that. I'm going to make sure everything's grouped, which it already is, and then I'm going to just go down to weld and weld everything together. It's not so important to weld with this type of font because it's not joined together. However, if I was to go through to make it now without welding it, when I cut it, all my letters will be all higgledy-piggledy on the mat, so I want to make sure it cuts in one piece as it is on my screen. So we just hit weld now just to make sure that that is how it's going to be. So I'm just going to start getting my vinyl ready on the mat. Today I am using a white vinyl from MDP Supplies. I've got a massive log of this white vinyl. I'm not a fan of it. It doesn't cut well. It always needs 2 passes on the machine, and weeding is a pain. It always has been. And I think it's just the colour that makes it that way, because I have the exact same vinyl in pink, red, silver, gold, black, and they all weed so well and only ever need 1 pass. This white is just, it's just not good. So if you are looking for a white vinyl, I would not recommend this particular one. I will put a link in the description box below so you can see which one it is, so that you can avoid it. However, all the other vinyls that I have from MDP Supplies have been brilliant, and I can't fault their service either. So I'm just using a standard grip mat today. I need a bit more grip. Last week I had a bit of a nightmare with a mat where the vinyl came off it halfway through the cut and jammed up my machine, and I honestly thought it was game over for a few minutes. I was a little bit scared that I'd broken my Cricut. So what I'm going to do now is cut out the size that I want. I have decided to do this on 2 panels, as I mentioned previously. So in the little screen on the bottom right hand corner, you'll be able to see what I'm doing on the screen as we go along as well on the actual Cricut. So I'm just going to right click and do a copy and a paste. So I've got 2 copies of my design now, and then I'm just going to go through to make it, and then this is the screen for make it, and you can see that I am roughly looking at about 20 centimetres by about 29. So that's what I'm cutting out now on my cutting board. I try to be as accurate as possible when I'm cutting out the vinyl to go on the mat, and keeping everything really straight is important, because when you are applying it to your mat, if your edge is wonky, you're never going to get it to sit straight, and then you're going to end up using more vinyl because you need more to cover the piece that you need. So it's a good idea, follow the grid. If your vinyl is gridded on the, is that a word, gridded, on the back of your vinyl, and use that as your guide. Alternatively, if your vinyl doesn't have a grid, if you've got a cutting mat like I have on my desk, use that to help you. Pop your ruler down and literally trace where your lines are using your ruler from end to end, and then you'll keep it nice and straight. It's really important, and it does help to save vinyl in the long run, and it's expensive stuff, so we don't want to be wasting it. So I'm just going to pop it onto the mat now, give it a good smooth down. This mat has only been used 2 or 3 times, so I'm not going to roll it because I might struggle to get it off. I might struggle to get it off anyway because it's quite sticky. Okay, so I'm going to hop over to the machine now and just prep the machine ready for the cut. The last project I did with my Cricut Maker the other day was a cardstock project, and I don't know if you've noticed, when you use cardstock your blade can get dusty, and that is literally little bits of fibre from your cardstock that get stuck onto your blade, and it can cause problems when cutting, especially if you're flicking in between materials like I am from cardstock to vinyl. So I don't think you'll be able to see any bits on here now, or you can see a couple of little bits when it focuses. So all I'm going to do is grab my ball of foil that I keep in my little pocket on the side of my Cricut machine, and I'm just going to jab it a couple of times with the blade, and it literally cleans your blade. A lot of people say it sharpens it, but to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure it does. I think it just cleans it and gives you a smoother finish on your blade. You can see now that's really nice and fresh looking. So you're going to stick it back in the machine and carry on with the cut. Okay, so just put the mat in, so that's ready to go, and you can see on the little screen in the corner that I'm literally just going to go through the continue screen, and then it's going to bring up my USB connection, and then now it's connected to my machine. I choose my material, which is vinyl. It's one of my favourites on there, so just click that, and then we're ready to hit go on the machine, and it's just going to cut. So when this cut has finished, do not eject your mat. Keep it in the machine, and that's important because we need to check if it's cut. So I'm just going to lift it up and have a look, and you can see that my design is coming with the whole sheet of vinyl. It hasn't cut through, so it does need to go through again. So just hit the flashing C on your machine again, and the whole cut will go from start to finish. And off it goes round again for another cut. And whilst it's quite annoying that you've got to recut it again and it takes extra time, it is always best to check your cut before you eject your mat. If you eject your mat and then you try to put it back in for a second pass, it's rare that the machine will take the piece of vinyl back in exactly the same spot. So you may find out that you're actually wasting that whole sheet of vinyl. So this is the second pass done, and as you can see, it did cut okay. A couple of the bits of vinyl have moved during the cut. I would expect that on a second pass. So now I am just literally going to weed this piece of vinyl. I've just got my pretty standard Cricut weeding tool. It's a bit bent because my son decided to use it on some lollipop sticks in his infinite wisdom. So all I'm going to do is cut my design in two, because remember I've got 2 happy birthday dads on this one piece. So just carefully making sure I'm not going to cut over any of the cut design. I'm just going to use my steel ruler and a craft knife to carefully score down the middle. Don't press too hard if you're doing it on your cutting mat. You don't want to go through it and damage your actual carrier sheet mat. So now I've done that, I'm going to start from the top and I'm going to peel it back at a 90-degree angle as much as I can, using one hand to keep all of the sticky of the excess piece of vinyl away from the design. I have found as well with this vinyl that if I accidentally stick it to the design when I'm weeding it, it just ruins the whole design. I can never get it back off, and I usually end up screwing it up in a bit of a fit of rage. So just be careful when you're weeding it. Keep it folded back at 90 degrees, it really does help. Use your weeding tool to push things back down where you need to and lift things up where you need to. Always use your tools to your advantage. So now I've got that main piece of excess vinyl off there. Just get rid of that, discard it to one side. Then I'm just going to get all the little bits out of the centres of my letters and get rid of those as well. So I'm going to use a nail polish holder. I don't use it that often, but sometimes if I'm doing something like this, it is quite useful. These are like £2 or something on eBay. You can get them on Amazon as well. And they're good for just pulling all the bits of vinyl off when you are weeding. So I'm just going to carry on with the weeding process now and then get everything ready, and we'll put it onto some transfer paper ready to go onto the balloon. To give you an idea of how long this piece took to weed, I'd say this piece of footage is about 5 minutes and it condenses down to 15 seconds. So weeding isn't a quick process. I wish it was this quick in real life because it is not fun. So once the weeding is complete, I'm just going to make any adjustments that I need to. I have noticed that the Y was a bit wonky, so I just made that adjustment there. Then I just flip my mat over to the other side and pull the mat away from the design. This stops the bending of your paper carrier sheet. So as you can see, I'm bending the mat and pulling away rather than doing it the other way around and bending my design. We want to try and avoid that at all costs as much as we can. So I've got them both off now. That one is still a little bit curly, but never mind. I'm going to put my cover sheet back onto my mat. This helps to keep it nice and dust free and clean. My craft room gets really dusty, so that is a must for me to do. So the next step in the process of personalising a balloon is to pop your decals onto your transfer paper or transfer tape. So literally I'm just putting that on there and I'm going to smooth that away using my scraper. Make sure that it's really well adhered to the transfer paper. I'm going to cut them into 2 separate decals because obviously I'm going to apply them as 2 separate decals. So on the side where the transfer tape is, I just do it a little bit more gentle than I do on the back. I don't want to rip my transfer paper and end up damaging my decal, so just be gentle when you're doing that and aware that that can happen. It can also move your decal if you're too rough with it, so just be careful. So now I have got my balloon, and this is a blue, sapphire blue orb balloon. It is absolutely beautiful. It's a lovely colour. One of the main things with an orb that we need to think about is that it's actually printed blue. It's not a blue foil. And because we are using a transfer tape, what we need to make sure that our transfer tape is not too tacky and it's not going to pull off that blue print there. So all I'm going to do first of all is get myself a little tiny piece of my transfer tape, and I'm going to test it. This is what a lot of people would use. This is a clear plastic transfer tape. It's too strong for this sort of balloon. It will literally strip the blue off, and a lot of people get really disappointed. I see it online all the time where people have put a decal onto a balloon and they're really disappointed when they pull it off and half of the actual colour of the balloon comes with it. So this is just a little bit of the transfer paper that I'm using. This is a Detape low tack paper transfer paper. You can get it in lots of size rolls. This is the 12-inch one. I've just tried to keep it uniform with what I do with all my other rolls being 12-inch. So all I've done is just took a little bit off, and I'm going to just go to somewhere inconspicuous on the balloon underneath here. I'm just going to stick it on. I'm going to push it down like I would if I was applying my decal. And then I'm going to pull it off really quick like I would if I was applying decal, and then see if there's any damage. And there isn't, because this stuff is such low tack, it's perfect for balloons. And if anybody ever asks me, I always recommend this particular transfer paper. So now we've got to try and find a way of making our design nice and straight on here. So I know that the middle of my design is just above this H here, so I'm going to try to get that to be dead straight across there. It's quite difficult, I'm not going to lie. It's hard to get them straight on the balloons, and what you'll probably see is me take it out and do it a little bit more by eye. But sometimes people will make a ring of modelling balloons. 2 modelling balloons tied together, placed round the balloon, can help you to place. I have used that method before. Another decorator that I know uses a box, and he constructed this box himself. You put your balloon into it and then apply your decal. It holds your balloon nice and steady and all the rest of it, so that works as well. Another way that I like to do it is I just get a bit of cotton and I measure the cotton to fit, and then I stick that on with a bit of my transfer tape and work out where my placement's going to be, and that's what I'm doing here. So I'm literally just quite crudely measuring with a piece of cotton, and I can see where my first line needs to be, and I just then put 2 little bits of transfer tape either side of the balloon, and then I can attach my decal using that as a bit of a guide. It is a bit hit and miss sometimes. However, with an orb, as I said before, the colour comes off. There's no second chances. If you're doing it on a bubble, you can take it off, you can peel it off. If you ruin your decal, you can start again. You know, it's annoying, but it does happen. With this, once that decal is on, if you need to take it off again, it's game over for this balloon, unless you're going to use a different design that's going to cover what you've ripped off. So just bear that in mind. So now the design's on there, we're just going to start smoothing it out. And remember, wrinkle your transfer paper, not your decal. Always push it down, starting from the middle and working your way out like I am there. You can see that the transfer paper is all wrinkled. It doesn't matter. That's what we want to see. We don't want to see wrinkles in the vinyl. So once we've smoothed it down as much as we can by hand, we can start to peel it back and go slow to start with, especially with letters that like this that have got little tails and stuff coming off them. It's really easy to tear one of those off and ruin your design. So just go slow and carefully peeling back at a 90-degree angle, or as near to that as you possibly can. Push down any bits that you think need extra with your fingers, and just be mindful of all your letters. As you can see here, I missed the B on the start of birthday completely, and it's still attached to the transfer paper, so I needed to push it back down and re-release that letter. You can just see it there coming up. I've just noticed it, so I'm just going to push it back down, keep going really carefully, pulling it back slowly. As you can see, none of the blue has come off my orb, which is absolutely key with this balloon. We're just going to keep going all the way down to the bottom, and then onto the dad. Keep going nice and carefully. This really is a practice thing. Once you've done a few, you learn your best way of doing it. Your technique will be quite unique to you by the time you've started doing this sort of thing. So I'll just smooth that down. If there's any wrinkles in it, you can adjust that. The transfer tape that I'm using is reusable. I use it 3 or 4 times, so I'm just going to attach it onto the carrier paper from the vinyl for now, and I'll just put it underneath my cutting mat on my desk to keep it nice and flat, and then I'll be able to reuse that again when I want to. So I'm just going to take off my little bits of guide, and we're all done and ready to do the other side. I'm not going to show you the other side because it's the same as this one. So here's the finished article. It looks great. When it's twirling around, the words look nice and equal. I'm really pleased with it. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you have, please subscribe, like and comment, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye!